on, everybody? I'm Matt Harmon. Welcome to the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast, and it is a hell of a day to talk ball. Week 10 Sunday is in the books. We have a big show for you here today. Chris Allen joins me to, of course, break down everything that you need to know from Sunday's slate. But first, before we get into all that, we've got to talk Sunday Night Football. Chargers 25, Steelers 10. Oh boy, not a good performance from the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll get to them in a second. We'll start, as we always do, with the team that won the football game, which was the Los Angeles Chargers. Not a perfectly pretty performance throughout the bulk of this game, but I really like the way that the Chargers responded to not having Joe Alt in the mix. As Ray Garvin highlighted very well earlier on this week on the show on the data dump program / NFL trade deadline recap. By the way, the NFL trade deadline, that feels like 1,000 years ago at this point. I don't know why. I guess a lot's happened, and yet nothing has happened. I don't know. Time is fleeting here at this point in the NFL season. But what's not fleeting is, again, the Chargers' ability to respond to not having their all-star left tackle. Herbert got the ball out fast. They were using a lot more, I think, quick game concepts, and the primary beneficiaries of that were Quentin Johnston on some of these screens, but of course, it was Ladd McConkey. Folks, Ladd McConkey balled out in this game. 6 targets, 4 catches, over 100 yards, and a touchdown. I'll admit I would have liked to see him, dust Jalen Ramsey, get the edge on him on that one. But man, Ladd McConkey right now on the season, wide receiver 12, Quentin Johnston, wide receiver 17. God, what the pen meter. Look at this. This pen is not going to be eaten by me, okay? It's not happening. The haters are furious. The Ladd deniers are in shambles. The guy is an incredible player. It's so cute. It was adorable for 4 weeks, the first month of the season, that we had to pretend that the Chargers viewed Ladd McConkey, that Ladd McConkey was the third best receiver on the roster. Hilarious stuff. If you actually just remove the first 4 weeks of the season, Ladd McConkey is averaging 14.5 half PPR fantasy points per game. That puts him at wide receiver 9, sandwiched between A.J. Brown and George Pickens, ahead of the likes of Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Pretty good company there for Ladd McConkey. The other wide receivers, by the way, it really goes to show how much that September stretch is still boosting these guys up, because from an overall fantasy point standpoint, QJ and Keenan are touching tags there at 16-17. The rest of these guys here, it's not even close from a fantasy point perspective. Keenan Allen, 8.47. QJ, 6.98. Ladd McConkey has been the guy putting passes in the end zone. He clearly leads the team in this stretch with 35 receptions. The number 2 player behind him in that stretch is none other than Oronde Gadsden, who unfortunately had a knee injury in this game, left the contest early. I'm interested to see if that benefits a guy like Keenan Allen, who did, shout out to him on a little, we can all be honest, a little bit of a performative reception, a little pitch forward there from Justin Herbert on one of the final plays of the game. Broke the Chargers' all-time record for receptions, passes Antonio Gates. So shout out to Keenan Allen, an absolute Chargers legend. Of course, I am interested to see if Gadsden has to miss some time, which just would suck, man. Gadsden's been so fun to watch this year. If that actually boosts Keenan Allen's playing time. I don't think we're going to get any instructive data out of this game because it was late in the contest and the Chargers already had this one in the bag. But that is certainly something to consider. I think that Gadsden's emergence had really been one of the biggest factors in why Keenan Allen, as we've highlighted on the show, had been losing playing time on a weekly basis, had been kind of consistently seeing his route rate, his snap rate cut from what it was earlier in the year. I also think there's probably some level of managing Keenan Allen going on by this coaching staff as well. This is a team that does view itself as a contender, even if I think some of the shine has to come off this unit with just the state of the offensive line and the way it is right now. Like I said, I like the way they adjusted in this game, got the ball out of Herbert's hands a little quicker, a little more quick game concepts. I liked that, but just when we're talking about playing better teams later on in the year, I think that left tackle spot, the tackles overall, are going to shine a little bit brighter. There's going to be some more negativity there. At the same time, they still view themselves as a contender. They want Keenan Allen in the mix for those games. So that could also be part of the reason why he's gotten a little bit less playing time overall. But again, back to just the approach from this offense today. Shorthanded offensive line, as Next Gen Stats notes, Justin Herbert averaged 2.21 second time to throw in week 10. That is the quickest of his career, and he faced just a 30% pressure rate, 15 of 21 on quick passes for 145 yards and his one touchdown of the game, which of course went to Ladd McConkey. Man, that's crazy. For that to be the quickest of Herbert's career, I've watched a lot of Chargers football over the years, living in LA, doing the show with Austin Eckler over the years. I've seen a lot of Chargers games, and there's been a lot of, quick game, overly influenced, way too high usage of the quick game in Justin Herbert's career. So to see him have that kind of usage in this game, I do think that's a feather in the cap of what's a good coaching staff here with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman. Not perfect, of course, but a good coaching staff there, adjusting to the issue that they're facing right now with their offensive line. And, like I said, the Steelers are the Steelers, but they still had a great defensive game plan last week. Got the jump on the Colts with all that pressure that they threw at them. A lot of blitzes, a lot of mugged up looks on the back end with different and confusing coverages from what the Steelers had usually thrown out there. I think the Chargers had a week to study the film, were prepared for that, and knew how to adjust, which the answer was the quick game. I am interested to see if they can continue to do that going forward, because that will be a really big boost to this offense. Matchups the next few weeks. They have the Steelers in this one, Jags next week, and then the bye in week 12. Then they come back and face the Raiders in week 13. Hopefully they have Amarian Hampton, who is no longer in his walking boot. That's a good sign. Hopefully they have him on the other side of that bye. Kimani Vidal had a nice game in this one, 25 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. The only other running back who had a carry was a 1-yard run by Jarrett Patterson. So we know that Kimani Vidal, it's been very boom or bust in fantasy for sure. He's had these big weeks. He's had really down weeks, and it has been an every other week thing. And it's not been easy to pick the spots. That being said, when he's out there, he's still someone that you can start. You can feel comfortable putting him in your flex because you know those big week potentials are there, especially while right now he is truly the only option for the Chargers at the running back position. All right, let's get to the Steelers side of things here. Really bad offensive performance. I don't even know what else to say about it other than this was a brutal watch here. And I do think Jesse Minter did a great job, but I don't even know how much to put on the Chargers defense versus just this passing game. Had zero answers tonight. Zero answers. Outside of if it wasn't for that late touchdown to Roman Wilson, this was trending to be one of the worst. It was trending, actually, no, I take that back. It was trending to be the worst performance of Aaron Rodgers' career. We've seen a lot of Rodgers, of course, at the NFL level. He finishes with the 7th worst total EPA, 9th worst passer rating, and 12th worst adjusted yards per attempt in this game of his entire career. And like I said, huge sample from Rodgers, and it was almost all of those categories. It was at or near the bottom of his NFL career before that meaningless touchdown to Roman Wilson. So that just kind of puts into context what this game felt like for Pittsburgh. And it just, look, they've had their moments this year. It's just not going anywhere. It's not. We can all be serious here for a second. They're not going to win a playoff game. This team doesn't have it. And they're so easy to defend. For a good coach like Jesse Minter, they were truly hard doubling DK Metcalf on critical down and distance situations. And DK is not a guy that's good enough to beat double teams consistently. He's a good number one receiver. You can get away with him being your number one receiver, but you can't have this massive delta between him and everybody else on the offense. And that is what they have for this team that all offseason was, hey man, we're looking for a wide receiver. They trade George Pickens, but then ever since then it was like, we're looking for a wide receiver too. We're looking for a wide receiver too. Well, guess what? Pittsburgh, you're looking for a wide receiver too after the draft and after free agency. You ain't gonna find one. They're not even gonna pop up out of the woodwork here. And then you make no moves at the NFL trade deadline, and that's how you get yourself in a situation where DK Metcalf leads the team with 23 routes, which, by the way, was only on 68% of the dropbacks in this game. Calvin Austin second with 20 routes, 59% of the dropbacks. And then it's this mishmash of the tight ends. Jonnu Smith, 15 routes. Pat Freiermuth, 12 routes. Then it's the Roman Wilson, Darnell Washington, Ben Skoranek show. Beyond that, sub 10 routes run in the game. This is a guy nothing in this passing game. Just nothing to get excited about there. Of course, Rodgers had the one big game against Pittsburgh not too long ago. Well, that's because, against Cincinnati not too long ago. Well, that's because Cincinnati's the worst team defending tight ends, and Arthur Smith can do some cutesy fun stuff with tight ends, but that's about it. Honestly, that's about all this offense is pitching at you right now is some interesting, fun stuff with the tight ends. And that's just not enough. Like, that is not enough to be a threatening offense in the NFL at this point. It's enough to maybe get some football hardos excited. 13 personnel. Well, great. 4 tight ends on the field at one time. Okay, whatever. It's just, you got to have wide receivers. You just do. Especially for a guy in Aaron Rodgers who requires all this timing and precision, time on task. He doesn't have a lot of guys that have that sort of experience and time on task. I can't believe this team didn't make the Jacoby Myers trade. If they were serious about winning this year, they would have made the Jacoby Myers trade and just they probably should have made that before week 1. But they didn't do it. This is the state of the team, and you're going to get some really bad performances from this offense. Probably not this bad. Not, sub 3 adjusted yards per attempt, minus 20 something EPA, total EPA on dropbacks in this one. But you're going to get some rough performances from this team going forward. The good news is Jaylen Warren continues to be the clear-cut running back here for this team. 14 carries for him, 2 carries for Caleb Johnson. Who cares? Kenneth Gainwell, barely a rumor in this one. So I know Jaylen Warren didn't have any monster fantasy results in this one. He touched the ball just 16 times in a negative game script, but he did have that pretty sweet hurdle, and I think will remain and continue to be the starting running back for this team. I think I've expensed all that I possibly can say about this game. Wow, what a downer of an offensive performance by the Pittsburgh Steelers in this one. Really, really troubling stuff going forward if you're a fan of that team.